Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for the Future of Wrestling Podcast.
The future of NXT is in Triple H's hands, but Future Wrestling Podcast is in my hands. I'm Logan Myers, the owner of FOW, and tonight's the big reveal, the brand new show on the channel. First, you guys got to check me out on Twitter at LoganMyers144. This show is only a monthly thing. I'll go up against a guest and I'll debate many topics of the past, present, and future. Please welcome my first guest on the brand new show, Michael from the Slam Pigs podcast. Mike, how are you today? How you doing? Go ahead and plug yourself because you deserve it.
Well, thank you. As always, you can check me out at Mike the Slam Pig on Twitter. As always, check us out as a whole, the Hibiki TMD, Future of Wrestling, 205 Live with Logan himself. Make sure to check out the sister show, The Reset Button, all that good stuff here on the channel. And to answer your question, Logan, I'm having a pretty good week. This seems like kind of a softball to have me on a show to debate with you, but more than happy to kill you in a squash match.
A squash match. Okay. I see. This is what I want. Is like a debate where we don't have to agree on things, but we can. But I'm looking for things that we disagree on. And Mike, normally when it comes to anything that me and you talk about, it's me agreeing with you and you putting me to shame. But knowing the fact that coming up this Sunday on the post show of TLC, you're going to have a familiar face that hasn't been around to pick on a little bit more than me if I even get to come on the show.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be public enemy number one this week. Plus, that show's actually on my 30th birthday. So it's going to be like double fun for me.
It's like a double fudge brownie. You're going to enjoy double the fudge.
As far as you go, Logan, if that's going to appeal to you, I guess for me, it would be like a endless beer.
Sounds good to me. Hey, I agree. I agree with that one. I like that one.
Bottomless beer.
Bottomless beer. So now, Mike, you're gonna have Stone Cold's body instead on the little picture on the video. I like that idea.
That's fine. I'm still gonna say sexy.
Right.
And I have my hair.
That's true. I am glad to have you on the show. Normally, me and you don't ever get to do a show just me and you, so I'm actually really excited about doing this. For the debate, tonight's show is entirely about the great debate on NXT, past, present, and future. For the past subject, I'm going to give you the opportunity to pick one topic that we both discuss via NXT. Anything that you want.
Ooh. Oh, goodness. That's a toughie. Let's see here. Well, let's go right off the bat here. Let's go with maybe possibly the greatest NXT champion of all time and possibly the newest release from WWE, Neville. What are your thoughts on Neville?
See, Neville is it's cool because 205 Live, Cruise Control. This is definitely around my area of expertise.
Figured I'd give you a softball to start with.
I like that. To me, Neville, him leaving, I don't want to see it happening. But talking to Travis off air and many other days beforehand, I kind of agree with him. There's a lot of guys backstage that want to leave WWE entirely, go to the Indies, make more money, and then come back a bigger star, a.k.a. Drew McIntyre. So Neville could do this. I think he's a big enough star now that he has become by far the best cruiserweight champion of WWE history, and that's my opinion.
Well, I mean, other than occasional instances where he loses the belt for a week, he's pretty much been the only cruiserweight champion. So, in my opinion, I'm going to go the other way with you here. As much as I love Neville in NXT, and as much as I loved him as the cruiserweight champion, I'm going to have to go old school here with the thought process of you're paid to do what you're told. This isn't real. Okay, as much as you might not look like putting someone over, no matter who they are, you're paid to do your job. And whether you like it or not, that is your job. If you or I were to do that at our job where they said, hey, I'm going to need you to go cook a meal for this guy you hate. Well, guess what? It's your job. So you got to cook his food. And you could spit it in if you want. You know what I mean? And maybe nobody would know. But that's kind of the same case for Neville. He could have, from the reports were saying that he left because he didn't like his booking that evening with putting Enzo over again. And to me, that's kind of childish as far as the wrestling business goes, no matter who you are. And when it comes to this style of wrestling in general, cruiserweight wrestling, I get it. People don't like Enzo because of the way he acts, and he's not really cruiserweight style. Well, guess what? The ratings have never been higher than since Enzo has been your cruiserweight champion. So as far as Neville goes, if he wants to go try and make more money on the indies, go ahead. He's going to have to wait at least 90 days if they do decide to release him. If they don't decide to release him, he's going to have to wait out his contract, which is fine. He's probably going to get paid for it. But I don't know that they have to pay him for it because he could be in breach of contract. They could just not pay him for it and leave him sitting there not making shit. So to me, Neville is one of those cases where you think you're a little bit big for your britches there, bud. It's all good when you're on top of the mountain, but when you're not on top of the mountain, it's a little different for you. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, and it's crazy because speaking of another guy, I guess we can debate on him as well. Austin Aries, just a couple of days ago, his 90 days went up, and he just did his very first booking. And then I just heard that he's being booked for a dream match, and I can't remember who it is. I think it was a guy from Lucha Underground. Oh, crap. It's a dream match. I can't remember it, but Austin Aries weighed in on Twitter stating, he's making triple what he made in WWE, and I guess that was a hint to Neville, to get out of there. But it's an unfortunate situation. WWE is backed behind. Basically, WWE is pushed against the wall, and they don't know what to do right now.
This to me just struck me very CM Punkish to me.
It is.
You didn't like how you book, so you quit. Like, grow up, be a professional.
Yeah, grow up, do your job. You're not there to be about yourself. It's about the product. It's about the fans. It's about everything. If you don't make the fans happy, then you're not doing your job anyway. So Neville, he was doing an okay job. I guess he's just jealous of the fact that Enzo Amore is a bigger star, on the mic. I think these two guys should have had a better feud, a bigger feud, because Neville was really good on the mic. And we've seen Enzo Amore is really good on the mic. So it could have been hand in hand. I just don't like the fact that Enzo turned heel and Neville going face. I think they should have kept it the way it was. And that's just how it should have been.
I agree with you on both points there. I think they definitely should have had a longer program. Maybe that was in the WWE's thought process with this. But and I don't like Enzo as a heel, but this is WWE. They switch people back and forth. I mean, goddamn, look at the Big Show's career, for Christ's sake. How many times has he switched? But
and Orton.
The list could go on and on with certain guys that have switched back and forth. But to me, it always is going to boil down to being a professional. And that's being able to put anybody over and not asking questions. You can put somebody over and still look good. You know what I mean? Who knows how this match was going to be booked? It could have been another chicken shit heel win for Enzo, which still doesn't look bad for Neville, especially if they're switching him to babyface. But I can see some of Neville's frustrations here, maybe, but I don't agree with him at all. Whether you think you're being booked properly or not, that's not your job. Your job is to go out there and perform and do it to the best of your abilities and do your job.
And he basically failed at both. And I completely agree. And I know it's a debate, but come on now. The certain things that we talk about, Neville is talented in ring and on the mic, and really him complaining about what he's being booked and how he was being booked. I feel him for a certain extent, because, he has basically put the cruiserweight division on his back until Enzo Amore came in. But then again, look at it. There's a lot of stars that are also looking to leave and looking to do what Cody Rhodes did. So never know what and who is frustrated.
Well, all right, Logan, I think it's your turn for a topic.
All right, let's go Velvet Dream. Let's do it. We'll talk Velvet Dream.
Oh, the Velveteen Dream. What about
What is your thoughts? What is your thoughts on the gimmick? Shit. Isn't he going to be feuding with Aleister Black? Is that a thing so far? I think that's...
is he going to be the next one fed to Aleister Black?
I'm pretty sure he's the next one, unless Leo Rush. I really want to see Leo go to the Cruiserweight division.
Well, I mean, I think we both had the chance to see Leo Rush live and see what he can do. I would definitely agree with you there. I think he's more fitted to be in the Cruiserweight division. I'm worried what they would do with him because he's new and there's all these guys with their seniority and they've paid their dues and all this bullshit. But away from Leo Rush, as far as the Velveteen Dream goes, he was Leo Rush's tag partner in the Indies, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yes, in Maryland Championship Wrestling, yeah. They actually won the tag team titles.
Okay. I've seen the Velveteen Dream maybe 2 or 3 times, to be honest with you. The gimmick itself, I wouldn't say I'm super comfortable with. It's definitely blurring the lines of PG for me, in not so good a way as far as my personal preferences. But I mean, this isn't the first time we've seen a gimmick like this. What this reminds me of, to be honest, you remember Rico?
Yes, Rico when he was with Billy and Chuck.
Yes, yep. That's what this gimmick reminds me of more than anything. And my worry with this is, as good as the Velveteen Dream is as far as his in-ring ability, I'm worried that he's never going to be able to really get over that threshold of comedy relief. So even if he were to be successful in NXT and get called up to the main roster, I see him as more of the comedy relief Santino Marella type guy. I don't know that he really has a big main event future. And that's not taking away anything from his in-ring ability, because this guy is solid in the ring. That's definitely clear when you watch a match from him.
And that's why they signed him. As
far as his gimmick goes, I don't know if he was the one that brought this up or if this was their idea as far as creative went. But I just don't see a long-term future for this type of gimmick on the main roster.
I don't either. I don't either.
Low to mid-card comedy relief.
Logan, you said I could be in one segment. You said that, right, Michael? Yeah. Oh, hi, by the way.
Yes.
Hey, there's Travis.
Hey, it's
holy
me.
Shit. Where did you come from?
I'm going to ask you guys
He just comes out from nowhere.
I just want to do a drive-by, and I'll pop out of here. What do you think would have got over more in 96? Gold Dust, this guy blurring the lines, a talented wrestler with this androgynous character made people uncomfortable, or just Dustin Rhodes and cowboy boots? Hey, see you guys later. Follow me on Twitter at the HibickyTMD. Keep it up. Good show, guys.
Look at that cameo.
You want to take that first, Logan?
Personally, I want to say Travis is right. Goldust and Rico smashed together. Velveteen Dream. There we go.
So what is your opinion? Do you like the Velveteen Dream's future, or do you agree with me on what I said?
I think he has a future, but not with that gimmick. If he were to change and be a more aggressive type character, he could be a main event star, like a Drew McIntyre or something like that. But if he's going to continue to be like this Rico smashed together with Goldust, he's only going to be mid card talent, and that's it. He's not going to go far. Um, I just don't. I don't see it. I think, honestly, I kind of see Leo Rush having a better career than the Velveteen Dream.
I actually totally agree with what Mike.
All right. Well, to touch on what Travis said about Goldust,
I agree with what you said there.
As great as Goldust was when he first came to WWE, as much as the character really blurred lines, I really think he was way before his time on when that character could have really gotten over. I think if maybe he were to have debuted maybe 3 years later, maybe in 98, 99, during the Attitude Era, I think he would have been a great character to have. But as far as the Goldust character itself, I felt like it underachieved as far as what his potential could have been given the right place, the right time. I feel like Goldust was in the right place, but at the wrong time, which is why he never really got past that Intercontinental scene. And once it got to the Attitude Era, it was kind of like, well, we kind of already unveiled him, which would have been great in this era. But now it's to the point where what can we do with him to make him interesting again? Because once it came to the Attitude Era, it was kind of like he was already a little stale. And they did that Brian Pillman angle with Marlena where he got her services for 30 days. And I felt like it took a lot away from what could have been if he were to have debuted just a couple years later. But as far as to compare that to the Velveteen Dream, I could see how that could be a comparison. It's kind of the same style of gimmick, but I think this gimmick is much more watered down as far as the Velveteen Dream goes. There's a lot more left to the imagination, I guess, whereas Goldust was kind of more in your face with his character, and it was pretty much like, okay, this guy's weird. But the Velveteen Dream, I just don't see it as a long-term as a long-term work as far as being credible on the main roster scene. I can't get away from it. It just strikes me as comedy relief and just hey, you know what I mean? He comes out on the mic and says something that makes the crowd laugh, and then he goes in and gets fucking crushed in 3 minutes by Braun Strowman. That's just what I see out of this.
That's what you see. I don't blame you seeing that though, because he isn't the he's not going to be a main event star. I could see him getting F5 by Brock Lesnar, honestly.
Well, who hasn't? Evidently, all it takes is one these days, and you're done. No matter how many finishers the other guy gives him, as long as he gets one F5 in, it's over.
Speaking of Braun Strowman going in and just destroying somebody, now we're going to talk present for NXT and WWE. Is Enzo Amore a thorn to the WWE with backstage issues?
Ooh, I'm going to say no. For the big point of how many guys have we seen, aka Shawn Michaels, etc., that have been controversial backstage, not well liked. The Miz included in that, JBL, guys like that, that just weren't all that well liked. But guess what? They sold tickets, and in the big picture, you can be as much of a thorn in the side as they may see you. If you're selling tickets and you're having people come to see you, and you as in Enzo's defense, the perfect example, if you are main eventing a Raw twice in the short time that you have been champion, and people are still tuning in to watch that match, you are obviously more of an asset than a thorn to the side of any company. If you're selling the product that they want you to sell, and you are making them money, I don't see how you could be seen as a thorn in their side. In Enzo's case, I've always been a big Enzo supporter. I know he's limited at best in the ring, but I think kind of in the same way Roman Reigns was a couple years ago. People shit on his in-ring work. Now people are kind of like, well, Roman's starting to put on some good matches here. I feel like in a couple years' time, if you keep Enzo relevant, I feel like he could be the same way, especially as a babyface. I don't like him as a heel, but as a babyface, I think he's going to get you that sympathetic, getting my ass kicked kind of Daniel Bryan love. That I think I mentioned this a while back on Slam Pigs with Travis. He just strikes me as kind of Daniel Bryan-esque with his sympathy that he gets when he's just getting his ass kicked. You can feel it in the crowd when he's getting his ass kicked. The crowd is sympathizing with him. You can tell that they're kind of like, come on, Enzo, get up, Enzo. And he just screams star to me. Now, can he still talk his way or bullshit his way out of the company by doing some of the stuff that he's been doing in the past? Yes, because there's nobody that's too big for WWE to release if they feel like you are a detriment to them and yourself. But as far as Enzo goes, I see him as a long-term star in the company, whether it be in the cruiserweight division or back up, if possibly in the main event picture, if done right. Some people might laugh at me at saying that, but there's just something about the guy. I know he's got a different look and the way he talks, which obviously screams charisma. But I think if this guy gets a little more experience in the ring with some guys that could really help him. I mean, look at the Ultimate Warrior. He couldn't work for shit, and he had the title. So, I mean, because he screamed charisma, nobody could understand a word he was fucking saying. He had $1 million body, which Enzo doesn't have, but I feel like Enzo makes up for that on the microphone. So as far as him being a thorn in the side of WWE, no. I don't think he's a thorn in their side. I think he's an asset to them. I think he's a big money maker for them. If he wasn't, he wouldn't be put in the spot he's been put in.
I agree with you on a little bit of things, but I think he is a thorn in the side of WWE. And the reason why I think so is because he's rubbing a lot of people the wrong way. And I don't know if you said you haven't been on Twitter as of late. There's a video going around at a WWE live event. He cut a promo actually mentioning Neville quitting WWE, and now he's got heat backstage over that situation.
Good for him. I like it. And to be honest, I don't know why people are upset about that. He's making it real. He's making it to where the fans feel like they're in the conversation, like they're in the little, oh, did you hear so-and-so didn't like each other? Well, guess what? He's bringing it to life. And I feel like that's always good for the company. I mean, for Christ's sake, if you want to talk controversial and getting heat backstage, Shawn Michaels is the king of it. So, and last time I checked, he's a Hall of Famer, maybe the best ever to do this. So if that bothers some people, guess what? Get over it. Obviously, if you could do your job better, you'd be in this guy's spot. So I feel like a lot of it could be just people don't like Enzo for the fact that he's over and they're not. And they can't figure out why. Well, guess what? That's not his problem. So if you don't like it, do something about it other than crying like a little girl backstage about this guy's bullshit. He's not allowed in our locker room because he's getting over and he's talking shit about a guy who quit. Get over it. Fucking grow up and do your job better if you don't like it.
Good point. Very good points. All right, you're ready for that next question, aren't you? Asuka to the main roster. Do you think she will sink or swim?
Regardless, I think she's going to swim. Even on Raw, I feel like she's still going to swim. But if I were going to book Asuka, I would definitely book her a certain way to accentuate her talents even more. And it has nothing to do with in-ring ability because she already has that. She's already shown that in NXT. She is the best worker in NXT by far, which is why nobody ever beat her. She won the title from Bayley, of all people, who was the ultimate fucking female John Cena of NXT. And the crowd wasn't unhappy about it. So it's to the point where the crowd, she has believability behind her. People know she's a badass bitch in the ring, and she's starting to come into her own a little bit as a character. If I were going to book Asuka, I would book her as a heel, and I would put her with none other than Paul Heyman, the female Brock Lesnar. Asuka can't be fucking beat, can't be touched by anybody on this roster. Could you imagine the promos Paul Heyman could cut for this woman, which would take away the language barrier with her, which is the only thing that really maybe might sour some people on her a little bit as time goes on, is her language barrier. But I mean, Brock Lesnar's made a living in this company for a long time, and he doesn't have to say a word because of Paul Heyman.
My opinion on that is Paul Heyman will help elevate Asuka to a more secure position in the company, because she will be that threat then, knowing the fact that she has a mouthpiece like Brock Lesnar. I mean, Paul Heyman, that has been has brought Brock Lesnar to championships and big feuds, and that's what Asuka's there for, is to be that main attraction, and I think it's going to help her in the long run.
I think it'll help the whole division in the long run. If you have a Paul Heyman guy there with one of your female stars, it's going to elevate your women's division even more than it already has been in the past 2-3 years, to the point where you're making all these new stars in the women's division. You're having great matches. But I feel like as a whole, some of these storylines haven't really been well done as far as really connecting with the crowd to get them involved and invested in what they're doing. The matches are great, but sometimes I feel like the matches don't match the storyline. And I think you saw that even, I think the best example you saw that from would probably be just this past pay-per-view at Hell in a Cell with the Natalya Charlotte match. I don't feel like the storyline matched the match at all. I felt like that was, it kind of was, I don't know if it was kind of last minute booking or whatever they were thinking there, maybe long-term storyline. They just wanted to start with this, but it made zero sense to me. And I feel like a Paul Heyman guy would have more input on how these matches are being booked, kind of the way he is with Brock Lesnar, and would make Asuka especially look strong, and it would make sense, which is what wrestling's supposed to do. Make some sense.
Asuka's going to be that main attraction, like I said, and she's going to have a big future. But a big future for another guy that I have a question about, Shinsuke Nakamura. Should he go back to NXT?
Oof. No, he shouldn't go back to NXT. I don't think he should go back to NXT. I don't think it would do any good. I feel like the bloom has already been taken off the rose as far as Shinsuke is concerned. In my opinion, I called this on Slam Pigs with Travis when he was first talked about being brought up. Before he was even brought up, he and Bailey were kind of in the same sentiment as far as my opinion went. I didn't feel like these gimmicks were going to get over on the main roster, and they have not, for the exact reason why I called why they weren't. I didn't feel like the Bailey gimmick was going to get over on the main roster because I thought it was too kiddie. Felt like it was too childish for anyone to, as a whole, to really get behind it. Yeah, you're going to have the little girls love you and stuff like that, but how big is that demographic for WWE? Little girls, what, 5-10%? So then you have the other 90% of that crowd hating you, which is why I feel like Bailey has kind of gone to with her character. I feel like she's starting to hear a lot of boos and she doesn't know what to do. I feel like that's coming for Shinsuke. I feel like his entrance music can only hold him up for so long. His in-ring ability on the main roster was never something I thought I would be concerned with, but since I've seen him on SmackDown, it's really been lackluster, to be honest with you. I don't know if it's the booking, the language barrier with his opponent, but these matches just have not been very good. I maybe have seen 1 or 2 good matches he's had since he's been brought up, and it's been almost 6 months.
Yeah,
and it's really shocking to me just his matches. are falling flat, let alone his character. I mean, they're putting this guy on the mic and he's falling flat like he's obviously going to, because he can barely speak English, and the English he
Which
does
he
speak
could use
is,
he could use a mouthpiece as well.
exactly. There's no managers in WWE anymore except for Paul Heyman. So I don't know why. I guess Vince has kind of moved on from the manager gimmick itself, less people to pay, I guess. But I feel like a lot of the talent on the roster, especially Shinsuke Nakamura, could really benefit from a mouthpiece where he could just focus on his in-ring ability and putting on great matches. I don't know where you can really go with Shinsuke. I don't know how long his contract runs to, but to be honest, if I were Shinsuke, I would be looking for the exit. To be honest with you, I know he's being booked right now as in the main event picture, but I don't see it lasting much past WrestleMania. I just think it's going to get stale, like it's already starting to get, and without some kind of rejuvenation to his gimmick or in-ring style, I don't see long-term future for him in this company, whether it's in NXT or on the main roster. I think he should go back to New Japan. And do what he's best at with people that he can talk to. Unfortunately, this is one of those flops that I kind of saw coming because of how much he was protected in NXT and how much. I mean, the best match I've ever seen Shinsuke put on, I think I mentioned this a couple weeks ago with Travis, was his first one with Sami Zayn. The best one I've seen him have in WWE was his first match in NXT with Sami Zayn. And since then, it's kind of just been this little slow, steady decline. And I don't know if he can recover from it, to be honest with you. If I were going to put my money on something, I would say no. I don't see him in this company 5 years from now.
I think he may. I don't think he should go to NXT because I just don't see the point in putting him back there when he's already been on the main roster. So in the long run, I just don't see that being the way to fix it. I think the way to fix it is to keep him during his match against Jinder Mahal at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. The first thing that I said when I before the match started was he's gotta win that title, because I think that's what he may need to help fix what's broken right now. And they completely did the opposite. And now I just don't know. They look like really weak.
They made him look worse than the first meeting. At least at SummerSlam, he got screwed. This time, he got beat clean, basically.
And honestly, I think this is what should have happened. All right. Jinder Mahal should have lost the title at Hell in a Cell. But I don't know if you heard the rumors. At Survivor Series, the WWE is planning Jinder Mahal versus Brock Lesnar one-on-one non-title match, SmackDown versus Raw. And in my opinion, I think that should have been Shinsuke Nakamura versus Brock Lesnar. It's happened before, and I think those two would put on a great match together.
Now, firstly, the Jinder Brock match, it would be that would be trash, to be honest with you. And I don't think any real fan who really likes wrestling would really be interested in that at all. So I hope that they're going to pull an audible here and not do this, because I feel like it's going to be a big flop. I feel like that's just going to be like watching Hogan and fucking Sergeant Slaughter at WrestleMania 7. It's just going to be terrible. But as far as Shinsuke goes, he wouldn't be the guy I'd put in that spot either. If I was going to book that match, champion versus champion, it's going to be AJ Styles for me. It's got to be AJ Styles and Brock. That's going to be a much more entertaining match. Styles can work with anybody. Everybody knows AJ Styles is the best person on SmackDown. I don't know if they're trying to draw it out to WrestleMania for him to get his belt back, but if this guy isn't your champion in the near future, what are you really doing with your show? I mean, he's head and shoulders above everyone on that show, and he still is somehow not in the main event picture. I mean, I know he's had the U.S. title and stuff, and now he's losing clean to Corbin, which also didn't make any sense to me on SmackDown this past week. If you were, I don't want to sidetrack, but if you were going to put Ty Dillinger in the triple threat match for the title at the pay-per-view to protect AJ Styles, basically from looking weak, then why the fuck would you have him lose clean on SmackDown 2 days later?
Exactly.
It just didn't make any sense to me. But if I was going to book that champion versus champion non-title match at Survivor Series, it would have to be AJ Styles. But as far as the proposed match with Jinder and Brock, the only way you can really save that match is to make it a Survivor Series match, where you have Team SmackDown versus Team Raw with both champions as captains. That's the only way you could really make that match marketable or watchable, because nobody in their right mind is going to tune in to watch Brock Lesnar and Jinder Mahal in the main event. No way.
I don't.
And it's especially when you know they're going to try and put Jinder over, because obviously the obvious thought is going to be, well, Brock would kill him. But they're obviously, when they do things, they're going to try and swerve you like, well, Jinder's going to get over. The Singh brothers are going to knock out Paul Heyman or something and fucking, distract Brock long enough for him to lose. It would be stupid, to be honest with you. If Vince really thinks this is his main event for Survivor Series, he must have really, I mean, the last couple Survivor Series have been pretty terrible anyway, but he really has devalued this pay-per-view a lot more than I thought. And he is really, really out of touch if that's the case.
You're man, I'm trying to debate with you, and it's hard to disagree with most of the things that you're saying.
Well, I mean, that's because I'm right.
I'm trying my best to find a reason.
That's kind of what I do, Logan.
You give everybody what they want and what they need. All right.
I give them the truth.
Like that. And that's what a lot of people need. All right, here's a good question for you for the future of NXT. Who is the next NXT star or stars to debut on the main roster?
Ooh, that are on NXT now?
Yes.
Ooh. You want, I mean, I could do one female, one male. Do you just want?
Yeah, go ahead. That's fine.
The first female that comes to mind for me would have to be not Ember Moon, not Ruby Riott, but the chick from Sanity just screams charisma to me. Her name is just slipping me off the top of my head right now. I don't. Maybe you know her name.
From Sanity?
Yeah.
Dang, you're getting me on this one.
She just screams main event talent as far as charisma goes and believability and just being interesting. I feel like she is that person on NXT. Yeah.
Don't mean to cut you off. Nikki Cross. Yeah, there we go.
Yes. She screams charisma and money to me. I could definitely see her with a mysterious Bray Wyatt type gimmick. But to me, she is money and she's good in the ring. She doesn't look like a Barbie doll like some of these girls. She's a little rough on the edges, which I think makes her even more interesting. So that's my problem with the other girls like Ruby Riott and Ember Moon is I feel like they're trying so hard to be different that they're bland. I feel like Ruby Riott with all the tattoos and piercings is trying so hard to be different, but her character itself, when you get to know that character, is so bland and uninteresting. The same with Ember Moon. Her in-ring style, great. Puts on an interesting match. Her look is different, but her character itself, once she starts talking and you get to know her, she's just uninteresting to me. I could see both of those girls possibly coming up to the main roster, but I don't see them as long-term stars. I don't see them as like Charlotte or anything like that as far as something that you could really be invested in for a long time. I think if you're going to pick one female out, it would have to be Nikki Cross, just because, like I said, she screams charisma, and I think she could make the company a lot of money working with a lot of the top baby faces. As far as the males go, that's tougher for me. The problem is I don't see one big star in NXT right now as far as the males go. As far as on the main roster, if you were to put them on the main roster right now. Drew McIntyre obviously has had a past on the main roster. I feel like he would run into the same issues that he had before with being interesting. I still think him as champion is kind of bland and uninteresting. I don't feel like his character has really done anything for me. Yes, he's a great worker. That gets you far on the indies. It doesn't get you great. It doesn't get you very far in WWE. You have to be able to do something else besides work. And when he talks, his promos are very lackluster for me. Roderick Strong kind of has a Daniel Bryan feel to him a little bit. The little guy kind of always getting beat, just when you think he's finally going to get his big break, he just falls short. I get what they're doing with him, but I think him on a microphone also is uninteresting and bland. Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, those guys, I think they're going to run into the same problem. If I was going to pick a guy right now to be,
you can even pick a tag team if you want to as well.
I'm not even going to go tag team. I'm going to go single star. If I was going to have to pick a guy to be a successful star on the main roster, I guess the only guy I could really see is Aleister Black. Aleister Black is an interesting character. He doesn't talk a lot, which makes it even more interesting. But the only problem I have with him is his finishing move. I've said this to Travis before. I don't feel like his finisher would really get over that well on the main roster. I think that spinning crescent kick or whatever he does is just, it looks like a move that you do to stop somebody from their big comeback. It doesn't look like a finisher to me. I think he would need a new finisher when he came up to the main roster. But other than that, this guy has a lot of mysterious qualities to him. His look obviously is different. Doesn't have a great body, but he doesn't have a terrible body. And he can work. So if I had to pick one guy right now on the male side, it would have to be Aleister Black. Logan, give me your female and male.
I'm going to go Nikki Cross as well. And I would say just put in the whole Sanity group itself and let them go and become stars together. But I got to go with the team that has been there and has been very good as tag team champions. I'm going to go with the Authors of Pain. I think they're a unique tag team, and I think they could be very good on the main roster.
They just strike me as the Ascension. That's my big problem with them. I think they're going to,
I hope
Paul
not.
Ellering is not interesting to me. He never was. I never liked Paul Ellering as a manager. I never thought he was interesting, even with the Road Warriors. I thought he was more of a hindrance than a help. I felt like he's more of a novelty. Well, let's try and throw something with these guys to make them, look relevant. But I don't feel like he did any good for the Road Warriors in WWE, and I don't think he's going to do any good for the Authors of Pain when it comes to the main roster. They just strike me. We've never really heard them speak, and I feel like in this day and age, if you're going to really get over, even as a tag team, you're going to have to be able to speak well. And I'm worried. And these guys strike me as guys that need to be put in there with smaller, quicker, more athletic guys to really get them over. I feel like if you put them in with another power, if you put these guys in with Sheamus and Cesaro, I feel like the Authors of Pain would get truly exposed. I feel like they would really be looked at in a totally different way if you put them in there with a team like Sheamus and Cesaro, two big guys that are really powerhouses, can really throw you around. feel like the Authors of Pain just would look puny and uninteresting. I understand the Shield look they have to them, and I understand their ties with Roman Reigns and all that. That to me wouldn't even interest me at all. I don't know. I see them as guys that are going to be mid-carders on the tag team scene once they get up to the main roster. Well, I mean, but explain it to me. Try and make me a believer. What do you see in them that really makes you think they're going to be stars?
I think they're just a unique team. They're guys that I think could be stars on the tag team division itself. I don't think they can like separate each other and be big stars because I just don't know how good they are on the mic or anything like that because they have a manager, so they don't really need to speak.
They have a shitty manager.
Yeah. The gimmick's all right. I just don't know. I mean, they lost to Sanity and lost the titles, and so now it's just like the whole tag team division itself in NXT is like upside down, and you just don't know what's going to happen next. And that's how I feel about it. But to make you believe and give you a reason why they could be good stars on the tag team division, look at some of the tag team divisions, and you'll see like there's just not that one star in the tag team division that, besides like Usos and the New Day, Raw could use another team. And I think the Authors of Pain could be that tag team.
Okay. All right, Logan, give me your last one, maybe your biggest debate of the evening, if you have one.
I'm going to do a 2-1 for you so we can get out of here. Because I know it's late. All right. We're going to talk War Games, and we're going to also talk about if you had to pick one person from the indie scene to sign an NXT, who would it be and why? And then what do you expect and want from War Games when it happens?
Oh, man. Anyone on the indie scene to sign to NXT?
Yep.
That's a toughie. I'm gonna have to come back to that. But as far as War Games goes, I'm excited about it. I'm hoping WWE puts their own spin on it. I'm hoping it's not just a retrend from what WCW did. I could see it being something interesting as long as they didn't just basically go off the same idea WCW had. I would like to see it be more of, I see what they're doing with this to try and go with the Survivor Series theme with the main roster. But the only thing I didn't like about War Games was the team aspect as far as how they came out. I didn't like in 2 minutes, another guy's going to come out. And then once they all come out, then whoever wins is the winner. It takes away from the whole team aspect for me. I feel like if it were more elimination style, that would be more interesting to me, to where the last man standing.
I think it is elimination style.
Okay. Well, as long as it's last man standing is the winner, that would make more sense to me, or last team standing, whatever they want to do with it. That would make more sense to me than what WCW did with it. I felt like WCW had the right idea, but didn't go the right direction with it. That would be my only issue with it. But other than that, I'm super excited about where War Games could go. So and to go back to maybe an indie star, if I was going to pick one person to bring to WWE, and I think it would really benefit them more than anything, I think it would have to be Will Ospreay. I love Will Ospreay. I think he could be a big star in the cruiserweight division. I like his work, but I don't like his psychology. I feel like him coming to WWE could really help him with his psychology. I feel like a lot of times you watch his matches, they very much look like a dance instead of an actual match. I don't feel like there's a whole lot of psychology involved, a whole lot of athleticism. This guy's not short on athleticism by one bit, but I could definitely see this guy as a star if he could really be taught the ins and out of psychology and when to do things and why you do them. So I guess that would be the one guy I would pick.
I would go Kenny Omega or bring back Cody Rhodes. What do you think about Cody Rhodes coming back to NXT, but going to NXT and doing a little bit of stuff in NXT? How do you feel about that?
I don't, in the long run, I just don't see it doing him any good. I don't see it to the point where I think he's going to be anything special, to be honest with you. It just, I've always been a big Cody fan, but you have to use him the right way. And I don't think WWE has any idea what to do with him, which is why they've given him these over-the-top gimmicks like they've done with Dashing Cody Rhodes and the Stardust gimmick. I feel like this guy screams more Randy Orton to me than actual Randy Orton. If they would have given him the Randy Orton type gimmick, I know they put him in Legacy under Randy Orton, but I feel like they never really followed through with that style of gimmick with him. They just always gave him some sort of bullshit 90s gimmick with his mustache and his fucking face paint. Just let this guy be himself. You know what I mean? Him and Sandow could have been a lot more interesting if they were allowed to be more of themselves than the gimmick. I feel like that's what took away more from what they were doing. But just my opinion. Kenny Omega, I believe he was in the company already at one point, wasn't he?
I can't remember if Kenny Omega was or not.
I think he was in the company for a brief time period, and it just didn't work out. He just didn't connect. He's another one of those guys that I think is much more better suited on the indie scene. I don't feel like there's a whole lot of benefit for him in the WWE. I just don't see him going any higher than he could on the indies. He's basically the top guy in the indies, one of them at least. Him and Okada, I feel like, are the two guys that are probably as high as you can go on the indie scene without being in WWE. And I just feel like that's as high as he would ever go.
I completely agree with you on that one. All right. Well, that was the last thing. If there's anything else that you want to talk about or any final comments or war games or anything like that, go ahead, Michael.
No, I don't have anything else that comes to mind that I really, really want to get off my chest. But I want to thank you for having me on. It's been pretty fun. Enjoyable. It's the first time we've ever really had a show to ourselves.
I know. It's kind of crazy. It's weird. Very weird. We should definitely do this again.
Absolutely, Logan. I'm always down for that. As long as I get to introduce you the way I do on Slam Pigs.
Yes, that's cool with me.
All right. Super.
Awesome. Well, guys, this has been the great debate, and now it's time to plug ourselves and get out of here. Michael, thanks again for coming on and doing the great debate with me on NXT. If there is another topic that you would like to talk about for a different show down the line, let me know. Just spit one out and we could do it.
Absolutely. Is this going to be like an NXT thing, or can I just pick anything?
Anything. I mean, you can debate anything.
For this week, I guess I could do a cruiserweight thing for you since you're Mr. 205 Live. Let's go with how long before Cedric Alexander is wearing the cruiserweight title?
WrestleMania 34.
You think?
WrestleMania is when Cedric Alexander finally gets it.
Huh. Well, there was a time maybe a month or two ago where I would have agreed with you, but I don't know if he ever holds it, to be honest with you. And the reason I say that is because I don't feel like his character has really moved along to the rate where I would have expected it to, where he would be a main event style guy with the cruiserweight division. I still feel like he has these same issues, very bland, vanilla, just uninteresting to me. His in-ring ability, I feel like he's probably maybe the best guy on the cruiserweight roster, but unfortunately, it's not connecting with the fans. I think he's just an in-ring mid-card guy. And also, to go back to one of your previous topics, if I were going to pick another guy that I forgot to mention that would probably be first runner-up to Aleister Black on who could be a star on the main roster right now, Lars Sullivan. Love him. Love the guy. I feel like long term, he has a Braun Strowman type feel to him.
See, this has been the great debate. I think this is that's a good point. I think he could be another Braun Strowman. That is.
I mean, we haven't really heard him talk, but as far as in ring, he definitely has the right in ring style to get over and be considered like a legitimate big man, even though he's not a huge guy, but he's got that old school style feel to him. He's just in there wearing his undies and his knee brace, and he's big and just throws fucking people around. So who knows? I could be wrong on him, but I saw him make his debut on NXT in the tag match with DIY when I think he was called Dylan Miley. I even mentioned it on that week's Slam Pigs. I'm like, who the fuck is this Dylan Miley guy on NXT? This guy looks awesome. And ever since then, he got a name change, and he's kind of been repackaged to where he's a single star. And I would give him a year. In a year, I think if he's not still in NXT and he's already on the main roster, he's going to be a force. If he is still in NXT, he's the champ.
I agree. Huh.
Injury free, I see him as the big star that NXT could be looking for outside of Aleister Black, who has been pretty much fed all this good talent to demolish. So.
I like where you're thinking. I like the fact that there's excuse me, that there's people like we're not really like focusing on like a Drew McIntyre or like a Eric Young or anybody that's like big in there. We're looking at some of the guys that could be stars that nobody's even looking at. That's what I want to look at, and I think we're on the same page here, Michael. But
yeah, I'm looking at guys outside the box a little bit. Like, I'm sorry, just Drew McIntyre and Eric Young don't strike me as main roster stars. They strike me as main roster mid-carders.
Huh. So, like Braun Strowman, he was not even anybody on NXT, really.
Nope.
And then he became he was a damn rosebud, and now he's become somebody that many people didn't expect. He was a Vince McMahon project, and he became a bigger star than what anybody even thought. Everybody in the beginning, I saw it on Twitter and all that. Nobody was behind Braun Strowman, and now look at how big of a star he is now.
Well, nobody was behind him, I think, for the same reason that I wasn't behind him at first. It was his lack of in-ring ability. He was a liability in the ring when he first was brought up. I felt like he was brought up a little too soon to be put in the Wyatt family. And when it got time to be put in the ring, he just wasn't ready. But now you see him a couple years later, and this guy is like night and day in the ring. I mean, this guy is probably one of, if not the best big man I've ever seen in the ring. The way he moves and does things in the ring. I mean, he's probably had the two best matches the Big Show has ever had in his career, and the Big Show's been in the business for a long time. As far as in-ring ability matches for the Big Show, as far as watchability and interest, I think those the cage match he had with him and the match where they broke the ring, I felt like those two matches were probably the best two Big Show matches of his career.
Exactly. And me and Travis talked about this before, that was probably the best big man cage match, big man match ever. And I enjoyed it. So, like, thinking outside of the box, NXT, there's so much talent in there that a lot of people don't focus on, who I think could come into the main roster and shock people. But I think that could be talked about in a different day. I think we should, I think it's time to wrap this show up. Michael, where can everybody check you out and plug yourself and Slam Pigs?
Everyone can check me out at Mike the Slam Pig on Twitter. As always, check us out as a whole on Hibiki TMD. This show, The Future of Wrestling, 205 Live, the Cruise Control show with yourself and with Colin, the Target guy, as well as Travis. Check out Slam Pigs podcast with myself and Travis, our sister show, The Reset Button. If I'm missing anything, I'm sorry, but that's about all I can think of.
Well, everyone, this has been the Great Debate NXT style. I'm Logan Myers, of course, the owner of Future Wrestling Podcast. You guys can check me out on Twitter at Logan Myers144. And please, guys, like, subscribe, and enjoy these videos. Michael, it's good to be here with you, and I was very happy to have you on. The next time we come on, let's do a subject on. We'll do a subject on maybe an old school. We'll go old school mixed with the Great Debate, and maybe next month with me and you. How about that?
Sounds good to me. I'm down for anything old school.